Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to the Women's Empower Network. I am so excited to have it's
Charla.
Charla with us
Mm-hmm.
today. And just a little bit, we were talking. She has an incredible story. So, Charla, would you tell us a little bit about your story, about why you're so passionate about what you're passionate today? What led up to that?
Absolutely. Thank you, first off, for having me. And I have been following your network for quite some time, and that's why I booked this um, meeting, because I love how you champion for change, that you want people to reach their highest potential and on a level of authenticity. So thank you for that. Um, so my journey, my voyage, I had the most amazing life. I had 3 group homes for the MRDD population um, in Michigan for over 10 years. I was a hospital administrator and staffing coordinator, dual thing for a major hospital in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And my husband of 10 years, he came to me and said, "Hey, honey, I want to start a family of our own. I know we have 36 children, and they all went to church. We had 15 passenger vans and took them on vacations. It was like a normal life, because most of them had been in county farms back in the 80s and 70s. People with intellectual intelligent delays, they were clustered together with severely mentally ill. And once people started recognizing that they weren't the same, they were trying to get them out of those county farms. So I was one of the pilot programs in Michigan. And so adult foster care licensing came on board, and we got licensed for the first home. And so we ended up getting pregnant. And I'll tell you, it was an amazing feeling. I was 33 years old, and I was about a week away from not working anymore and taking my maternity leave. I was walking by a patient's room when 2 of my nurses yelled out, "Char, help us," and they were in a panic. Now, if you know anybody that's a police officer, a firefighter, nurse, doctor, even a good Samaritan, they're going to run in without any thought of their own well-being to go help. I should have called a code. I should have yelled stat or anything, but I went in there. When I came up on to that patient, very tall man, the nurses had lost their grip on the transfer belt. And in slow motion, I could see him falling back on top of me. He broke my back in 7 places and killed my unborn son.
I am so sorry you had to go through that.
It fractured me, not just my back, but my spirit, my mind, my emotions. The jovial, loving, kind person that I always was no more. I had no joy. I spent 6 months in a spinal cord hospital and then 3 years in a nursing home, where subsequently my husband divorced me. So you tack on abandonment issues. And even though I was very strong in my faith in God, I didn't turn to him for help. I didn't get counseling because I was in a nursing home. Didn't get to go to my son's funeral. So there was a lot of issues. And I turned to food. Food became an absolute idol for me. I didn't realize it at the time. Now that I'm well educated about it, I understand. But the self-loathing, the guilt, the unforgiveness, the shame, the condemnation just plagued me to the point of self-sabotaging behaviors. And people felt so bad for me that they would ask me, "What can we do for you? bring me a bucket of chicken, you know?
Jeez, yeah.
And I became a manipulator. And when you have a food addiction, just like a drug, any other drug, you'll get it any way you can. And when I left the nursing home in my power wheelchair, I had free license to go to the fridge anytime I wanted. So I went from 160 pounds pregnant at 33 to 36 years old, 415 pounds. On oxygen, severe type 2 diabetic, 6 insulin shots a day. All am I doing? I didn't care. I never smiled. I, at the time, didn't attend church. I didn't go back. And my doctors wanted me to move to Ohio to go to the Cleveland Clinic back specialists because they thought maybe they could help me, which they couldn't. And they told me I would never walk again. So we're going to fast forward 18 years of intensive care stays, IVs in and out of me always, renal failure, congestive heart failure. I mean, I've got pictures that would blow you out of the water. And God kept me alive. He kept me alive. And in 2015, I became septic. I was really sick, but I survived. And I'm like, okay, so I went to church. Now I've been back to church for a while, just sitting in the pews and listening on my wheelchair on oxygen, listening to the sermons. And that day, the subject was about abusing your body with food, drugs, anything. And I went forward and I said to God, okay, God, you and me, I know I'm killing myself. I'm not asking to walk again. I don't care about that. I've dealt with that. But would you please heal me of this grief and gluttony? I'm killing myself. And have you ever heard of people talk about visions and having an aha moment or a spiritual encounter with God? I thought I was going crazy, to tell you the truth. I audibly heard God say to me, I can't help you. And I go, I don't understand. I'm admitting grief and gluttony. I'm admitting it. He says, no, I can't help you until you give him back to me. He meant my son. All of a sudden, I wasn't in church anymore. I was in this massive cloud atmosphere and this giant hand. Mary, can you get the baby for me? This giant hand came out, and nestled in God's right palm was a little baby boy. And on God's wrist was written, thank you, please and thank you, written on God's wrist, Michael, my baby's name. And then that baby started talking to me like it was an adult. And he says, Mom, I'm up here in these clouds trying to cheer you on to run your race. You're breaking God's heart and you're breaking my heart. You won't let me cheer for you. Let me go. Then he said, Mom, it was an accident. I forgive you. Forgive yourself. I was weeping, let me tell you.
It got me weeping.
And then he said, thank you, Mary, Chaplain Mary. And then he said, Mom, you didn't have me on earth, but you're going to have me up here for eternity. Let me go. Gut-wrenching, healing sobs. I forgave myself. I forgave my husband. And God replaced that abandonment issue with so much love and empathy for him, because he lost his son and wife and group home. He lost it all too. And I knew instantly I was transformed. Romans 12:2. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I never told anybody what happened that day. I rolled away in my power wheelchair, but I was smiling. I knew God had healed my mind and my heart and my spirit. So, being the researcher and history buff and everything else that I am, I didn't even go to my doctor. I put myself on my own eating plan. But the gluttony was gone. I no longer had the thirst of wanting to eat a whole box of Oreos or package of Oreos. About 80 pounds down, my physical therapist saw my leg moving. They rushed me to Metro Hospital here in Cleveland and did an MRI. My spinal cord doctor, my pain management doctor, all came in the room and said, Char, don't get your hopes up. We are so proud of you that you've lost 80 pounds. Keep going. But there's no change in your spinal cord. You still will never walk. And I was smiling when they told me that. And my spinal cord doctor had been my doctor for years and years and years. And he was, Char, did you hear what I said? Why are you smiling? He thought I'd really lost it. And I said, it's okay. God healed my mind, my spirit. My joy is back. My peace is back. My love is back. I'm okay with not walking. Well, God had other ideas. He decided that because of my faithfulness and my honor to him, and I took my first step a month later, 2016. And by end of 2016, I joined Bible college. You can't not have all these miracles and not want to serve God. And so I went back to Bible college and graduated 2019. By 2018, I was off the walker, walking normal, and I did my first 5K. And for your viewers, this is my journey. This
Wow.
is 2016 here. The day at the altar, I had somebody take a picture of me because I was smiling for the first time. And that was that at 415 pounds. And then you can see some of the other ones down here. So I've lost over 220 pounds, still going. I'm still on my voyage like everybody else. However, with that being said, I started going back to school. I met Dr. Joseph McClendon III in a very happenstance way that was ordained by God. That's another whole long story. My doctor wanted me to have the weight loss surgery. They thought, okay, you're walking, but you're so sick with diabetes and so sick, 6 insulin shots a day. And I finally did agree to go and have the weight loss surgery. Biggest mistake of my life, but yet it was the best thing that ever happened at the same time. A friend of mine and myself, we went to a different hospital. I had a bad surgeon. He cut my vagal nerve. And the vagal nerve is the main nerve of our whole body. It's attached to our brain. It goes through all the way down to our main cava. It tells us to breathe. It tells us to blink. It tells our heart to beat. And when I woke up in intensive care after the weight loss surgery, my heart was 28 beats a minute. So my doctors at Metro all came over to this hospital to save my life. And so what ended up happening from that juncture, this was 2016. So here I am thinking I'm having this weight loss surgery to give me a tool for a couple of years, because that's all they normally work is 2 years. A couple of years to relearn how to eat, do my, get my mind frame right. And now I'm battling something else. So they put a pacemaker in 2018. Before that, I was taking a slew of medications to keep my heart going. But that pacemaker was like Energizer Bunny. It just came into me and it just took off. And so I went back to school. Doctors put me on electrolytes and ketones to regulate the vagal nerve problems, because another thing vagal nerve does is your digestion, your metabolism. And I was throwing up 3 to 5 times a day because of that surgery. I could not eat solid food. So I didn't have to worry about overeating because I was always sick. And had to puree everything I ate. So one day there was a word of knowledge about me that I was going to change many lives, that my testimony that God had allowed me to bring through, that I was healed of grief and gluttony, all of that was going to help other people. So I went back to school. I became a neuro-encoder with Dr. Joseph McClendon. I then also became functional medicine certified coach. I'm also a ketone technology optimization coach. So what does that all mean? I can write menu plans. I can tell people how when you fast, intermittent fasting, that your body goes into a state of autophagy and does a cleansing of your body. And if you've got any dead non-functioning cells or dead mitochondria, the good cells go and eat the bad cells, which gives you new brain cells. It gives you new everything. And so I help people. I work with people that want to have just 20 pounds of fat loss, and I have people that are 800 pounds that are on their voyages. I do the meal plans for free because for me, I was blessed and I can't charge for it because I got set free and I got a privilege and a duty to set other people for free. And I make money other ways. I do private coaching. I teach classes like anger management, things like that. So I always had the career in the medical field way back then, and then I just enhanced it with everything else.
Your own personal life journey.
Yep. Yep. And so my favorite part of all this, and this is what I see, God knew. I mean, yes, I'd rather have my son, but God knew that he was going to use me. And my favorite part of this whole journey was after I graduated with Joseph, people started coming to me. I'm a type 2 diabetic. How did you do it? And then all of a sudden, people were getting set free of insulin. The doctors were calling me. I mean, I've got literal proof. Doctors were calling me, asking me, what are you doing with my patient that I haven't done? And one diabetic was 35 years. He's off all medication, all medication. So then, so right now we're at our 25th diabetic this year that's been set free from. I work with a lot more. Their A1Cs are lowered, but I can only say 25 are off all medications.
Wow.
And living their best life. One retired and is living in Florida. One gentleman called me from intensive care. They were going to amputate his leg. And his doctor worked with me, and between his doctor and myself with modern medicine and what I was doing, biblical medicine, combining both biblical and modern science, we were able to save his leg. So
wow.
It's a long story. But so a friend of mine had this carved for me. It's wood. It was my vision of my son nestled in God's palm. And even his name, Michael, is on the wrist.
Aw.
So when I teach grief counseling, when I go to a place where I'm sharing my testimony, I actually have this go around the room. And I say to people, if you've lost a wife, a husband, a mom, a dad, a sister, a child, this is what I want you to do. And I'll have them hold it. You see, there's a scripture in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. It said, there is such a cloud of witnesses that have gone on before us, all people of faith. And they're standing in the clouds, cheering us on to run our race. And I don't want people to be stuck in grief like I was and be self-sabotaging. So if my life can speak to them, I even had the opportunity of going back to the same nursing home. I didn't call and ask them. It was all laid out by a unique situation. Same nursing home I was in to minister to spinal cord patients and those that were hiding food, you know. So I love my life. I love what I get to do.
What a journey. Thank you. Thank you for being you, and what a tremendous journey that you've been on. I mean, it just blows me away.
And it's not done. I get
No.
divine appointments everywhere I go. May I share one more quick thing?
Oh,
Do we
please
have a second?
do. Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I want to tell you, that this happens to me wherever I go. And my roommate, Chaplain Mary, she'll tell you it's uncanny. So I told you I had surgery August 1st. And so I was headed toward a doctor's appointment and I got a flat tire. I had a nail in the tire. So I call Mark Wahlberg Chevrolet and I'm like, I need to come right now. I got to be at this doctor's appointment. No problem. Come on in. So they're fixing my flat, and I walk into the area where you sit and just relax and have coffee, whatever, reception area. Here sits a man about 450 pounds. Barely, I mean, just you could hear him breathing. And my heart just went, oh. And I'm the type of person that I've got to feel the peace in my heart to approach somebody because I can't be obnoxious about it,
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, God, do I go talk to him? I need your peace. And I felt a peace. So I sat down next to him and just kind of just chatted. And we exchanged names and I said, hey, by the way, can I show you a picture? He said, sure. And so I pulled out my picture and I have it on a video where it slides
Uh-huh.
and his face just went, that's not you. And I go, yeah, it is. And I said, so now you have a choice. I can tell you my testimony, or I'll respect your boundaries and I'll leave you alone. He says, no, I want to hear it. So I told him basically everything I told you. And he began to weep and he says, I'm getting married next year and I have a 6-year-old son I can't even get on the floor and play with. I need help. He says, but there's one more thing. He says, my mom, she's about 800 pounds, bedridden, 3 blocks away from where I live.
Wow.
Me. And he said, if you help me, can you help my mom? She was on my 600-pound life and they rejected her. And I said, absolutely. If she's willing, absolutely. And he goes, what do I have to do? And I says, well, do you believe in divine appointments? And he says, sure, I do. He goes, I'm not supposed to be here right now. And I go, what do you mean? He said, well, I went to one of those instant oil changes and they put the wrong oil in my car. And I had to rush over here for them to fix my car. And I looked at him, I go, I'm not supposed to be here right now. I had a nail in my tire. So those are the kind of things that happen wherever I go. And I'm so honored. And I have to give God the glory of this testimony that I am privileged to live.
What an incredible story.
Thank you. Being a ketone technology optimization coach, all that is I can tell you at a molecular level what your body's doing when you're fasting, how ketones are developed in your liver and how they'll give you unparalleled energy, that you can get into a natural state of ketosis like people on a ketogenic Mediterranean diet try to get into, or even athletes. And that actually that was how God designed your body to prepare itself.
Prepare yourself for what?
Repair,
Oh,
repair.
oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, like the gentleman who had the foot being
The,
amputated. If you
right.
saw the pictures of his foot, and it was 1 week later, the doctor didn't have to amputate. And a lot of people don't realize that we are an overfed people.
Yeah.
Unless we are living in a place that doesn't have food, we are an overfed people. And we were never meant to eat as many carbs as we do. And then we had that crazy doctor in the 1900s that created the American Standard Diet, and that stands for SAD, SAD. And it's like, I did it too. I wasn't wise. I didn't know until I got educated. So I teach people you can have cheesecake. You just use almond flour for the crust and monk fruit for the sweetener. Instead of 46 carbs, it's 4. So that's what I teach people.
That's incredible. Well, we'll be sure to put the links on how to get in touch with you and how to connect with you above this
Okay.
interview. Is there any parting words of wisdom that you would like to share with the audience today?
Yes. I thought about it this morning when I was praying about this, and it's 2 sentences. Don't wait till January 1st. There's 96 days left in this year. You have the opportunity to make little small changes that will make a big impact. It could start with water, or you could start with the monk fruit. You could start slowly. You don't have to go all gung-ho, all in and feel overwhelmed. That's where I come in. Message me. I'd love to help you.
That's so beautiful. Carly,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for being here today. You've been
My
such a
pleasure.
blessing. What a story, what a journey. God, my heart feels full.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And if one person hears this and makes a change for the better, then everything is worthwhile.
Right? Exactly.